Hello, this is Rynette with Freedom and Passive Income, and if you're watching this video, you may have been doing some research or trying to figure out all of the elements or all of the factors that are taken into consideration with creating your credit score, and I'm going to go over all 5 factors today. So if you're new to the channel, I would love for you to subscribe and hit the notification bell, and that way you will get the latest tips, strategies, and information that will enable you to become financially fit. And the channel will also support your desire to dream, believe, and achieve freedom and passive income. Now, if you want to go ahead and jumpstart your journey to earning a passive income online, I created a free ebook and also a free video training that will show you the 3 steps to success in terms of creating a passive income online. So today we're going to talk about what actually goes into deciding what your credit score is going to be. There are actually 5 different factors, and so we're going to briefly go over all 5 of them this evening. So of course the very first factor that is taken into consideration in terms of determining your credit score is your payment history. And if you pay late, then that's going to drastically affect your credit score. So you always want to make sure that you're making your payments on time. And if sometimes, if you can make them ahead of time, that's most helpful also. But you want to make sure that you make your payments on time. And then the second thing, that's the first thing. So that's 35%. I'm going to give you the percentages also. So I'm going to go in terms of the priority, in terms of what is the highest percentage. The highest percentage that affects your credit score is your payment history. The second highest percentage that affects your credit score is your utilization rate, and that's 30%. And so your utilization rate is the balance that you maintain on your credit cards in reference to the total amount that is available for you to use in terms of credit. So let's say that you have 5 credit cards and you have $1,000 credit limit on each credit card. Or altogether, that's going to be a $5,000 credit limit that's available to you. What you want to do, you want to make sure that you're not using more than 30% of that. So 30% of that would be, let me think, that would be about $1,500. So 30% of that $5,000 available credit limit, and that's over all of your cards, then you don't want to spend more than $1,500 of that. Ideally, you want to stay under 10%. So you ideally would not want to use your credit. You would not want your credit balance across all 5 cards to be more than $500. Now, a lot of people think, well, I'll just pay my credit cards off every month and I won't have a balance at all. And I used to think that that was the best way to go also, until I learned that that really is not the best thing to do, because the whole purpose of giving you a credit score is so that banks and lenders that are considering you as a credit risk, they want to know whether you can be trusted to make payments on time. And so if they look at your credit lines and everything is 0 all the time and you're not using your credit, then you have not established a track record that they can consider in terms of giving you a loan or a line of credit or a credit card or anything like that. So you do want to have a small balance on your credit cards, and that, like I said, 10% or less is best, but you most certainly do not want to go over 30%. And what I do in order to show that I'm using some of my credit, I have some really small subscriptions like Netflix, and there's Hulu, and just if there's a small bill that you have, what you could do is you could set up an automatic payment for that small bill, and then that way you know that it's showing that your credit is being used on a regular basis. It's not being used a lot, but it's being used on a regular basis. So those are the top 2 things, and they account for 65% of your credit score, and that's your payment history and your utilization rate. If you go over that 30%, If you're close to the max on your credit cards, that's definitely not going to be favorable to you in terms of applying for credit with other lenders or creditors, because their position is if you're close to maxing out, or if you're maxed out on your credit cards, that means that you have established that you're not very good at managing the credit that you do have. So you definitely want to stay most definitely under 30%. If you can get it under 10%, that's even better. The next thing, the next percentage is the 15%. 15% of the credit score is determined by the credit mix that you have. And so what that means is, what type of credit do you have? Do you have installment loans? Do you have revolving credit? Do you have a mortgage? An installment loan would be like your car payment would be considered an installment loan. That's where you have agreed to pay a certain amount every single month. It's going to be the exact same amount, and you're going to make that payment over a period of time. The fact that you have an automatic payment, no matter what the balance is, you have automatic payment every month. That's considered an installment loan. Revolving credit would be considered like your credit cards. The balances will go up and down, your payments will go up and down, and so that's considered a revolving line of credit. So those are the three major types of credit lines. I think of course there are others. I just can't think of them right now, but those are the major three. You don't have to have every single one of those to max out the benefit, max out 15%, the 15% contribution to your credit score. But if you can mix it up a bit, it's better than nothing. But that is, the 15% is not something that you necessarily have to worry about if you only have one, credit line. And sometimes if you don't have a mortgage, there are programs where your landlord will report the fact that you've been paying your rent on time, and that will be considered a type of credit also. So that is the third type of that is the third thing that is considered in terms of determining your credit score. That is the fourth. That's the fourth. I got my notes up here. The third is actually the length of your credit history. So I apologize. I think I gave you all the wrong percentage on that. So 35% of your pay is your payment history. 30% is your credit utilization rate. 15% is the length of your credit history. So how long have you had credit lines? The longer your history, the better. So then 10% is the credit mix, what we just talked about, the revolving credit mixed with a mortgage and or an installment loan. So those are your credit mixes. And then the last 10% that affects your credit score is going to be any new credit that you get, and credit inquiries on your credit. And there are two types of inquiries. The first type of inquiry, it would be considered a hard inquiry, and that's where another creditor or another lender, they're looking at your credit to determine if they're going to give you a loan or extend your line of credit. So that will be considered a hard inquiry. A soft inquiry is any type of inquiry that is used that is not trying to establish whether you have a good credit or whether you have challenged credit. So that would be like if you've applied for a job and your employer is checking your credit. If you apply for insurance, sometimes they'll do that. If you're just checking on credit on your own credit reports, all those would be considered soft inquiries. And so, of course, the reason why they call it the hard inquiries is because that's going to affect your credit a lot more than the soft inquiries. And so why would a lender care about who is looking at your credit report? Well, if a lender is looking at your credit, well, let's say you apply for an application, you apply for a credit card and you have to fill out the application. But let's say you've applied at 10 other places and you were declined. If the 11th lender that you're trying to get credit for, when they pull your report, they will see that you've applied 10 other times within 60 days. That's going to give a red flag. They're going to be like, why is this person applying for so much credit and more, you know, and not only that, it appears that they're being denied. Why is that? Is there a certain risk that needs to be considered with this application? So you definitely want to make sure that you limit your application for credit. Once you have a good mix, you really don't need to try to, I know that there are a lot of people and they have different strategies, but I'm just trying to keep this simple for the regular person that's not trying to complicate their life more than what it may be complicated right now. And if you're trying to get out of debt, getting more credit cards, I'm not going to recommend that. So anyway, those are the 5 things that have the biggest bearing on your credit score. So you want to make sure that you follow those guidelines in terms of utilization and inquiries and just all the things that I mentioned. Your payment history, make sure you make your payments on time, and you don't want to close any accounts unnecessarily, because remember, your credit history is also taken into account. So if you have some old credit cards, you may not want to close those. You may want to pay them off and let them stay at 0 balance, but you may not necessarily want to close those because that will affect your credit score also. So I hope and I pray that this was helpful to you. If it was, I would appreciate your support by hitting the like button, sharing this video, hitting the notification bell, and subscribing. And if you want more information on how to fix your credit yourself, if you're having some credit challenges and you want to fix it yourself instead of paying hundreds or even thousands of dollars for someone to do it for you, click the link below and you can get more information about a program that will definitely not only meet your needs in terms of helping you repair your credit, but also help you increase your cash flow automatically without getting into debt, getting another job, or changing your budget. So I will click the link below so that you can check that out. So anyway, I really appreciate your time tonight. Again, hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.